Hello and welcome back to Outside the Box, an MLS podcast. My name is Juanners.
This is Daniel.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Joss.
And we're back with some MLS footy here, some Outside the Box. A very, very fun, well, maybe not fun weekend. There are some stinkers in there. We'll talk about them. But first, we were in a big boiling pot of a debate here. We were getting into some Cascadia locations, away days. Joss, you had the chance to do a full Cascadia road trip through KC Current and then boarding Kansas City. Am I right?
Yes, not full Cascadia. Sorry, Vancouver. I could not make it to St. Louis for the hate watch, or Vancouver for the St. Louis hate watch, because I was watching my beloved KC Current in Portland. But I got 2 of the 3 in this weekend.
Okay, right. I guess I should have said American Cascadia because I haven't been outside of the U.S. for an away day, so I can't say what the Canada experience is like, but I have been to both Seattle and Portland, so I figured it'd be a great discussion point, just off the cuff, both locations. Give me your takeaways, Joss. What did you think of first? Like, tell me the away day, man. How did it go? And tell me what you think of the 2 locations.
Sure. Yes. So I'll start with Portland. Portland, I get in on Saturday with the rest of my off to see the Wizards friends, Carrie and Isaac, and immediately whenever I go to these cities and specifically go to away games, I'm reminded how fake of a city Kansas City actually is, because I can walk to every stadium that I try to go to in these places. But if I try to do that in Kansas City, I will probably die. So Portland was no different. The Timber Stadium is a fantastic stadium. This is no glaze, Jeremy. I'm being so serious. It's probably my favorite stadium in the league. It's in a beautiful spot, beautiful part of town, surrounded by bars. It's easy to get to either on the streetcar, or if you're staying downtown, you can walk there. And it's a beautiful stadium. They did so well with preserving like the charm of it as they renovated it from a baseball to a soccer stadium. And I've always enjoyed going. This is my second time at Providence Park for a Kansas City team away day. Last time I was there, Sporting KC got spanked 4-1 as Sony Mustabar got sent off. This time I'm there, and my beloved KC Current eke out a 2-0 win over the Portland Thorns. So
Eke out.
It wasn't an eke. I apologize. The dominant KC Current and Temwa Shawinga, my MVP,
So good.
roll up to Portland and leave with a 2-0 win. It was great. I love going to these games because like women's soccer has not taken off as much as it should be yet. So the players, we can recognize them. They can hear us when we're cheering for them. After the game, they came over and they applauded us, and it feels much more personal. So the game was great. Portland Stadium was great. My friend Isaac, who came with me, said it's probably his favorite stadium that he's been to. And he's including the Camp Nou in Barcelona in that. So high praise, and because he's a massive Barca fan, Jeremy. I also got to meet Jeremy. We went to a Mexican spot, got some great food. Overall, just a grand old time in Portland, Oregon. So yeah, I'll stop there for now before I talk about Seattle. I really like Portland. Juanners, are you the same?
Yeah, dude. Portland is really, really cool. One of the first times forays into the event planning for Box State was doing the bar crawl, hosting like just a bunch of people to just roll through. And I don't know, it was just I feel like if I was a bit more sober, I would have found time to meet up with Jeremy. But beyond that, like stumbling, like I stumbled into the game, and that is, awesome thing to be able to do. You can't just stumble your way into a Rapids game. You have to like drive, park, tailgate, all that good stuff, and then I guess you stumble in. But to just walk amongst the city from hotel to stadium back to hotel, like that is that's the dream right there. That is truly what I like love about away days. I had also had that in Cincinnati, which I think probably is one of the. I think Cincinnati TQL, man, that is a great stadium. But no need to Evander here from the Portland to Doc. I love Portland, dude, and that stadium is just as nice as well. I remember at Portland, someone came through our gate and like threw water at us. So I was not received entirely welcome there. That is a core memory. But after the Rapids start losing 4-0, the highlight of that trip was the Portland's away visitor section is next to a fitness center for an apartment complex. And so someone in there was like doing curls and we were cheering him on. But yeah, man, I interesting to hear though. I'll toss it off to Jeremy because he lives in Portland. But what do you make of that, Jeremy?
I've told when I saw Joss and the rest of the Off Sea the Wizards crew, who I also said enjoy the victory tonight as they were waiting on their train platform as they were heading to Providence Park because of course the Current were going to win. I told them when we were at this wonderful Mexican restaurant, I could not live anywhere else. And yeah, I don't think I could live anywhere else than Portland, Oregon. And as Joss can tell, it's very much not dying. It's very much not on fire, despite the 100-degree temperatures when he was here. So, yeah, I love hearing people just come here and be like, "Wow, I like it here. This place is really cool." And I'm like, "Yes, it is. This place rocks." And as far as the Providence experience goes, I'm pretty sure I've said this on the pod before, but the fact that I get to go to Providence Park multiple times throughout the season, and it's basically my home base. I feel so spoiled for that because as someone who has also done a fair amount of traveling this year, I always go to Salt Lake. I always go to Seattle. I added LAFC this year for one game. I visited both Texas stadiums aside from Houston, so that would be Austin and Dallas. I feel like every time I walked into an opposition stadium, I was like, wow, I am so spoiled that I get to go to Providence Park every single week. And there was this one post on the Timbers subreddit a couple of weeks ago. I think it was after that Dallas loss where people were just like, please just say something grateful that you're grateful for that's Timbers related, because everyone once again was just like down in the pits about it, about that stupid Dallas game. And I said that feeling I get when I walk into Providence Park every single week, every single time I get to go there. It's truly just unmatched.
I don't think. Have you ever been to Dick's Sporting Goods Park though?
Huh?
Have you ever been to Dick's Sporting Goods Park though?
That is on my list for next year. I've
Yeah.
I've locked in at 3 away days for next year. RSL and Salt Lake, RSL and Seattle, obviously. Those never leave, but I am 100% getting to the Dick next year.
Listen,
And
it's everything, bro. It's gonna
I've
show you who even more the real people that are spoiled, bro. Like it's us at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, dude. Like it's us, bro. We got it on lock.
And I put a flat, like, I don't care what time of year it is. Like, it could be the first game of the season at the end of February. I'll be there. It could be the middle of the summer, get delayed by thunderstorms. I will be there. Like, I do not care what the weather is for whenever that Colorado game is scheduled. I will be there no matter what.
Maybe we get the Thorns doubleheader. Thorns and Summit. Rapids, Timbers weekend. But beyond that, I want to talk about Seattle, though. Joss, how does Seattle compare, though? I know we just spouted a lot about good in Portland, but if where would you put Seattle in your discussion here?
Seattle are another city that Seattle is another city that really did well with their stadium placement. And I always start there because that's where I spend a majority of my time whenever I go to these away games. But like, Seattle might be a better comparison for a Kansas City resident as myself, because even its football stadium is really near downtown, and Kansas City's is like a mile away. And so again, I'm like, I wish that we took ourselves seriously when we were designing the city, because it could be a lot more livable. So yeah, I got to Seattle. Right, Power and Light. Yeah, Seattle has that too, or a version, I guess. But yeah, I took the train up from Portland to Seattle on Sunday, and got to Seattle. And it's big. It's a massive city. I mean, I don't even think I realized how massive it is. So I didn't get to cover all of it. But on that first day, I dropped my bags off at like this baggage holding service. Honestly, it was in kind of like what looked like an abandoned building. I was kind of sus, kind of scared of what would happen to our bags. But to be fair, they were not touched. We got them back and everything. So after we dropped our bags off, we went to the Rodron Bar, which was right next to Lumen Field, and is it T-Mobile Park? I think is a baseball stadium in Seattle. And I was like, this is awesome. I wish we had, because it's all developed around there. There's bars and there's apartments. It's like a ballpark village. And I would love to live there if I were to live in Seattle. I'd probably choose somewhere around the stadium, because golly, that's probably just such a cool area to live in. Yeah, the stadium was cool too. Very nice football stadium. Not a soccer stadium though. Not a soccer specific stadium. So 5-3 Seattle. Checkmate. You only beat us by 2 goals this weekend. And afterwards, went out, tried to go out. Nightlife wasn't that happening because it was obviously a Sunday night in Seattle. But the next day, we got up and did some filming around the city, and it's really beautiful there. There's the sound, there's the market, the gum wall, which is by the market that Carrie wanted to go see, and I found joy in. We put stickers all over the place. So Seattle also a really nice city. I think I had a better time in Seattle than I did in Portland, but I also got to spend more time there. And Jeremy, please don't kill me. Yeah, I also love the public transit there too. They take themselves seriously, and that's very nice.
Yeah, I'm very interested to hear if Jeremy goes the hater route. But what I'll add about Seattle is another place that I did stumble into a game. So I do appreciate stumbleability from, drinking when you arrive and getting nearby. Pike Place Market was super dope. That's where I hung around, and then I did see the gum wall as well. So big thumbs up, Seattle. Their stadium though, I do not like Lumen Field at all. And maybe it's just the nightmare of another 4-0 loss in Cascadia, but I just was not a fan of that layout. Not as big a fan, I guess, as Joss here, but I'll hand it over to Jeremy.
Okay. I'm going to take a brief second, and I'm going to put on the Cascadia FC hat. Because in terms of this country, Seattle is a 90th percentile city. However, to an Oregonian, specifically a Portlander such as myself, it is a 1 percentile city. But that's okay, because I'm going to take the national perspective into this. It is absolutely awesome about where Seattle Stadium is. And I said so as much because last week, it became publicly known that there's a new sponsor inside Lumen Field, DaBella, who famously, and guess what? Here's a Box State tie-in for this, famously was the Timbers kit sponsor for one game. And that one game was the game that Juanners was in Portland for, the 4-1 victory against the Colorado Rapids. Why were they the Portland Timbers kit sponsor for one season because their CEO is a piece of shit. And right after that game, a article was published basically saying how he was a serial sexual harasser inside the workplace. Not very good. So, DeBella lasts one game as the Portland Timbers sponsor. They get all of their signage around the stadium gets removed, yada, yada, yada. And everyone's like, great, I never really liked DeBella to begin with. That didn't stop the Seattle Sounders, well, more specifically the Seattle Seahawks, because, it's not their stadium, it's the Seahawks stadium, even though the classic refrain from every Sounders fan is, Lumen Field was built with soccer in mind. Cool, who gives a shit? It's not your home. I basically said, it's really funny because they had to copy the Timbers again. That's been the joke with the Sounders ever since they won their first cup, which they did the year after the Timbers won. So, I thought it was funny. I was poking fun at them, as I should, and I, of course, got some flack from Sounders fans because I obviously pointed out the truth that stealing the Timbers' old kit sponsor and putting it in their stadium is just like stealing their stadium sponsor, Providence Park, and putting it on their jerseys. Some Sounders fans got angry at me, said that stadium is the home of the Seahawks and is a FIFA World Cup venue, one of the largest stadiums in the West. Taylor Swift had 2 concerts there. It cannot be all bad. Folks, this stadium still smells like fish. Its primary tenant is a flock of seagulls. Luckily, it's right next to the train station, so visitors can get the hell out of there after whatever event ends.
Now,
it is the best part of it is where it's placed, because it's so easy just to leave Seattle after you're done partaking in whatever sporting event you're seeing at Lumen Field, which, for me at least, has been some really satisfying draws and wins.
Now, all that being said, Daniel, it's your turn to pick. Where are you going? Where's your destination away day if it were to happen? Into American
If I had to pick
Cascadia?
between Seattle, Portland, and American Cascadia, Seattle and Portland, I am taking Portland because I think they have, if not the nicest stadium in the MLS, a top 3 nicest stadium in the MLS. I actually tweeted that like last week, and Seattle fans were like, "It's an old baseball stadium. It doesn't count. Artificial turf. I don't care. It's a nice stadium. Beautiful views. It makes Portland look pretty, and that says a lot. So we'll take it."
Daniel, they said turf. Why would they say turf? They play in a turf-laden football stadium.
I don't know, man. I can't read the minds of Cascadia people. You guys are a different breed.
Do we want to come back next week and come back with a big Stadia discussion?
I would love to do that because you guys are going to shit on the bank, and I think I can hype it up a little bit.
Maybe we'll come back with some top rankings. But anything else on your trip, Josh? What did you make of the 2? Which one would you favor more?
Stadium-wise, Portland for sure, but I could see myself living in Seattle easier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a rough one, though. You have to be a Sounders adjacent.
Yeah, no, that won't happen.
Well, I'd be everywhere. You wouldn't be able to escape it.
I would need a lot of therapy.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, I'm hearing voices.
Fellas, let's wrap up this transfer news. Everyone is saying, before we get too deep into the stuff, that Cincinnati won the window. How do you guys feel about that? And is there any other moves here that, like, kind of, I know we talked a lot on the Jeopardy parody episode, but are there any other new signings here? I know we got Paxton Aronson at the Rapids. Talked about that in the last Burgundy banter. But I'll throw it over to Daniel here. Any surprise trades and dealings for you as the window closes here?
I think the biggest surprise for me, and I'm not going to take it off of Burgundy banter, I'm just going to say it was Paxton Aronson. Not going to dig too deep in it. You are going to have a whole episode on the other part of
I'd like to
your
hear
own
what you think.
Box State Footy. Man, it's between. I love the move. Look, force it. And this is where my mind goes into it, and this is why I love it so much. You cannot force somebody to be in a part of the world to play a game that he does not want to be in. So not only did I like the move because I do think for long-term purposes, he will be a better guy to build around than Jordy. Although you guys know my thoughts on Jordy, he's a great player. But to see the absolute meltdowns that happened over a 21-year-old saying, you know what, I want to come home. I don't like it in Europe. I played pretty well there. I'm going to get paid. I'm going to move to a city I want to be in. And it was just scenes. And honestly, I think he's somebody that Colorado can build around long term. I mean, he's just a child. And if he wants to, he can always go back, which would be unheard of for the MLS. So not just like, I'm thinking storylines 5 years from now, because it is very, very rare for somebody to come to the MLS who's an American and then go back to Europe. And I think he's legitimately good enough to be able to do that. And I'm glad that he came home and he's in a place where he's more comfortable. And now he set himself up for his future. He set his family up for the future. And he has the ability to go back in the future if he wants to. Although I don't think he's going to.
Dude, clip this and send it to all the USMNT. I have been looking for the right take on all of it. There's a lot of dunking, don't get me wrong, but even for me, I've just been like struggling hard. You sold me on the move, and even here I'm a little bit tepid on it, just on the style. I don't know how it's gonna look. Like, more than anything, it's intriguing, right? But I'm all for it. Any other thoughts on the window?
I think. I got one more thought.
Yeah, go to Daniel, then to Jeremy.
The Malanda move, I thought, was a fantastic business by Charlotte. Obviously, Charlotte's biggest issue right now is their lack of center back depth outside of their midfield pairings that we could argue about every week. But the selling of Malanda, but then keeping him for the remainder of the year, was a serious business decision, saying, hey, we're serious about winning this year. Let's see what we can do in the transfer window this winter with the money that we're getting from Malanda. And I think that opens up a lot of really, really cool windows for other MLS teams to do that with their younger players. It kind of creates a path almost. And I really like that. It's a rarer transfer than we normally see. Okay, go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
Yeah, Jeremy, what are some moves you're liking here?
I'm going to save the majority of my Ronaldo Vieira talk from when we talk about the Houston-San Jose game. But I'm going to talk really quickly about a player who famously is bogged down on WhatsApp, and that's Corey Baird to San Diego. Now, I was writing about this weekend 0-0 San Diego Portland game, and part of it turned into a Corey Baird manifesto. I didn't intend for that to happen. It just did. And I believe that since getting rid of Milan Olowski, or just choosing not to bring him in permanently, which is still kind of a dumbfounding move given how good he is there, I can absolutely see the vision by bringing in Corey Baird, because everything that Corey Baird does can be used to unlock Dreyer, Lozano, De La Torre, Valacari, all of them to a very high degree. And it does make San Diego a better team, because Corey Baird famously had his best season in 2023 as a member of the Houston Dynamo, where he was the link-up striker in a team that was addicted to just linking play-up. So, I think that Baird going from Cincinnati to San Diego, incredibly underrated move, but one that's probably going to pay dividends for San Diego down the stretch.
Mr. October, huh? See that. We absolutely could see Mr. October run Baird. I know he's got like a lot of Baird stands out there. I know. I'm glad you brought up Cincinnati, Jeremy, and then we'll go to you, Joss, real quick. But I kind of wanted to get your thoughts here on Cincinnati's window, because they did bring in Marshchuk, they brought in Brenner, and I know they got Samuel Geedy as well. I like more than anything the Geedy move, but beyond that, like Dominic Marshchuk does not move the needle for me, and even Brenner at this stage, like, am I just like a little hurt by the comeback players, like a Miggy? You know what I mean? What do you think, Jeremy?
See, this is tough because on paper, a lot of these moves are really good. Like, being able to get Brenner back on a non-DP deal is objectively good business, but also, like, that's just coming down to agreeing a decent loan fee and a decent salary hit and just really good front office negotiations. The problem is a lot of these players are going to have to see the field, right? So, what do you do with a guy like Ayub Jabari? Like that's my big question. Because that was supposed to,
like, that guy's not impressed, in my opinion.
He's fast. He'll find something. I don't know what the problem is like, I don't know why you're bringing in a winger when this team just does not play with wingers. But I mean, okay, Albright's done enough to, I guess, earn the benefit of the doubt, which I think also goes to a larger theme with MLS. Like, there are some front offices that for some reason just have not earned the benefit of the doubt in terms of their transfer dealings. So, like, for example, Houston, who I think has, like, and they bring in a very underrated signing in Diade Samaseku, who was very good in the Bundesliga for years, but has always had injury trouble. I think that I can absolutely say, yes, I see the vision there, even though Houston has objectively whiffed on Ezekiel Ponce, and jury is very much out on Andre Linger at this point in the year, too. So I think when you give some front offices the benefit of the doubt, like, it seems like everyone's really easy to give Cincinnati to, which I agree. And I think that Cincinnati definitely had one of the best windows purely because they filled up. They added depth that could push them for a cup run. And as someone who picked them to win the Shield, I don't think that cup run is happening. I think they're losing in the conference final. But this is absolutely a stronger team than it was at the start of the season, and not so much in terms of like, oh, their ceiling has been raised, but they've been properly reinforced. And that's something that I guess in a mid-season transfer window you want to see. And then there are the other teams like the Colorados, who basically swapped one DP10 for another. There's the Torontos, who've just been loading up on young interleague talent ready to start a rebuild. There's Montreal, who just keep on selling players. I'm not complaining. You do you, Montreal. Joey, we will have that chat when we become part owners. It's okay. But it's just interesting to see all the different like ways that teams have improved this summer. And then there are the Sounders, who didn't sign anyone. And I'd like to say fair play to them for that. You know, did you really need to sign someone? You could. You don't have any U22 players on the team. You could have added a U22 midfielder, but you wanted to go for U22 forwards despite having XG merchant in Osaze de Rosario and another XG merchant in Danny Musovsky. So I kind of question Seattle's roster building, because I've heard that, oh, they're the roster building gold standard because of how deep this team is. Like, so much of that depth is provided by academy players, and that comes down to coaching more than roster building. I feel like I need to make that clear. They have the best coach in the entire league in terms of someone who's able to get the best out of young players and not someone who just plays a really attractive style of soccer like Wilfred Nancy, who, I mean, does get really good things out of young players. I think what Seattle's able to do is just better at this point from integrating players like a Snyder Brunel, who was absolutely created by Adrian Hanauer on Copilot because it's Seattle, Microsoft. They don't use ChatGPT up there. They are a Copilot city. I think this window really reinforced the belief that if the summer window could be slightly moved, slightly expanded, MLS teams would have a much bigger presence on the international transfer stage. And that's honestly what I want to see. And final point, get transfer fees out of salary cap hit calculations. Get it out of there. Allow teams who want to spend, and only factor in the salaries that the players are making rather than the amount of time or money it took to bring them over there. I yield my time.
That's the next step, right? Man, that is the dream. Joss, any final thoughts on the window here? There's still time in the ongoing window, so there very could well be some final delays or outbounds. But any other thoughts on the transfer before we move on?
Speaking of outbounds, Juan, let's shout out FC Dallas. They were able to get rid of Luciano Acosta because that stopped working. And like bitter exes, they split after about 6 months. And the relationship just was not going to work. And now Dallas seems to be doing a lot better. Well, compared to where they were. And I haven't even caught up with Lucho Acosta. I don't even know how he's doing down in Brazil. And I don't really care because Peter Musa has been freed from the shackles of that Argentinian fraud. And it's time for him to really kick on and do something. So I think Dallas did some really good business in their outgoings. Leo Chu is another one that they were able to get rid of. And Marco Farfan. So now Dallas can get back to what they're really good at, and that's promoting from their academy, from their MLS Next Pro side. They also brought back Christian Kappas from Europe, and I think that they're changing their strategy from like these big name signings, these huge move the needle kind of signings, to back to what they're good to. We all remember Jesus Ferreira. We all remember Ricardo Pepi, bringing through their academy guys and letting them carry the boats, so we should say.
Dude, it's always funny that whenever they went out and got a DP, it's just never been ever the same since the days of Mauro Diaz and Fabian Castillo. Like, I don't know if y'all were watching at that point, but Dallas was like menacing. Like, there used to be a time where Dallas was definitely like difficult game, and now, I mean, I guess we'll get into it, right? Let's figure this out, fellas. Let's look into the Western Conference because we have a more of a gap starting to appear. Salt Lake lost at home against Minnesota. Dallas drew against LAFC 1-1. Houston lost at home to San Jose. Yeah, and these three teams are pretty much the teams that we kind of all have been thinking they were going to be, right? Are we with? Yeah, I mean, let's see. They still have 7 games left each, but they're going to need to surmount something crazy because Austin has a game in hand on all of them there. But what are we thinking of these middle three, fellas? Who's got We'll go to who had the LAFC game. I guess Jeremy. I'll go to you for Dallas specifically.
All year I've been saying, what are they? What are these guys? Now, as the calendar is about to turn to September, they are a bunker and counter team. And they did a pretty good job against LAFC this weekend. I'm not going to lie. They exercised their game plan really well. I think LAFC is a team that is going to struggle against a team that's going to sit in and force them to create because they don't have that midfield creator. You can't run everything through Son Heung-min. I don't think Son is like a creative force as much as he is a goal scoring force. So I think it was I think it was a tough matchup for LAFC, and Dallas did a really good job to get a point out of it. But at the same time, they did this without starting Pedar Musa. I'm not even going to say they did this without Martin Paz because I think Collodi is an unbelievable goalkeeper. And I love when players were good at Next Pro and became like, oh wow, they're having a good run of games. Maybe they could actually be starting. Like that's how good Collodi is, I feel.
I mean,
Shout out Blake Chillingham, by the way. And then the other major player that they were missing in this was Urohide. So I think they did a pretty good job to get a point out of this. LAFC, I think this is more of a takeaway about them because I don't see Dallas as a playoff team this year. I see them as a team that's going to get a lot better during this offseason, get a little bit more like they're going to gel a little bit. I think they fill that DP spot with another number 10, a non-Luciano Acosta player. And yeah, I don't have like a ton of like big earth-shattering takeaways from this game. It was just like Dallas is going to sit in. Son scores a free kick. Congratulations to him. But yeah, there isn't much really to take away from this game other than stuff that we kind of already knew about both teams.
Yeah, a lot can be said for the Salt Lake matchup. They still very much play like a team that I figured would have sacked Pablo by now. But I mean, if this doesn't do it for them, they did have Victor Olatunji make his start at home. He got a goal, and I said as much in one of my previews to my work. I said new signing Olatunji looked good in his game, his last game that against Charlotte. Last week against Charlotte. Already getting it, but I said like at home he'll likely score because that's the home field always gives you that boost, and it's very much there for them. But like I said, not enough as they lost 3-1. Rafael Cabral is not it. Officially, I think that's kind of for as well as the defense has done in front of them, and this is with the defense without Alexandros Catranis, who's officially relegated to the bench. I feel like that guy could be in for a good cash for. He's a decent left back. I don't know why they prefer Sam Junqua there, but beyond that, fellas, I did have Houston, San Jose, kind of an OTB matchup just because it was kind of this like jostling position for like really good progress in the table. And San Jose needed that a lot because Houston still have a game in hand, but fellas, I think Houston is, man, they are. It's tough to see them rally at this point. I don't know how you figure it out. Daniel, I'm gonna go to you. What are your thoughts on Houston here?
I don't see the rally either, and part of that comes from the fact that it lacks so much firepower, and it seems like, I don't know, just watching them this season and then catching the highlights from last game, it seems like every single goal they score feels like they're pulling teeth. Would anyone agree that feels like a good way to describe it? And
Yeah,
I had the same
funny.
exact thought about a couple other teams we're going to talk about today, but things don't look fluid enough for me to out and out say, yeah, this team is a team that can capture a playoff spot, because they can't. Like, at the very least, San Jose, it doesn't look like they're pulling teeth to score goals. They just leak goals like crazy, right? And if they can get into a rhythm, they can outscore teams, they absolutely can secure that playoff spot. But I can't say the same about Houston. I mean, there are a couple teams in playoff positions that will likely stay in playoff positions that are the same exact way. But at the very least, they are more sound defensively, or at least defending, for longer periods of time than what Houston is actually capable of. So, I mean, if you're counting them out, Juanners, I don't blame you, because I'm at that point with them as well.
Joss, what do you make of Houston, man?
Houston are a bit of they're interesting to me. I really feel like they've fallen off a cliff, or not fallen off a cliff, but they've fallen hard in the last few games. And as someone who's been an ardent defender specifically of Jack McGlynn, in this Houston team, I'm kind of sad to see their season apparently coming to an end. I mean, now they're in 12th, and they haven't won in six games. So I'm kind of like, okay, is it time to start thinking about next season? I'm at that point where I think it is. I think Houston, despite their massive acquisitions that they've made, the likes of, as aforementioned Jack McGlynn, the likes of Andre Linder, who, as Jeremy said, we're not 100% sure on. Despite all this, and despite their recent success, I think of the Open Cup win specifically, things just haven't clicked, and we're now looking at another failed Houston season. And at this point, fingers need to start being pointed at Ben Olsen specifically, because you just can't be losing these games, these 6-pointers. And maybe it is a matter of not the players, but the personnel and the mentality that the personnel bestows upon the team. So for me, time to start rebuilding in Houston for next season. And maybe that starts with Ben Olsen.
Yeah, whoever's going to bench Sebastian Kowalczyk, get him in there, because every time he starts, it's like, why? Why does he continue to play? Like, we've seen enough of him. Like, I want to see more of Lawrence Anali, who I want to see start. I don't want to see him coming off the bench. I want to see Dwayne Holmes, who they also went out and got. I want to go see Olasanya. Like, all these players got minutes in, but they got late minutes. I mean, they relegated Bassi, guys, and I by no means do I think Bossy is a world beater, but I think he is like a much better player than Kowalczyk. I feel like I'm not crazy there, but I mean, Antonio Carlos, Pablo Ortiz didn't play as much, but Antonio Carlos is a solid pickup, and I'm like, there's quality on this team. It's just like I point the finger squarely at here. I think he's just run out of the creative well here. But you can't just be losing 6-pointers at home. That's kind of, when Josh said that kind of made it all click for me. But fellas, any other thoughts on? I mean, Salt Lake thoughts as well. Dallas, Houston. Are we seriously pulling for any of these final 3 guys? Are we hoping any of these 3 teams make it?
I mean, I'd love to see playoff Peter. Get it? Peter Musa. Come on, guys.
Peter Vermes. Peter Musa, yes.
I was
yes.
I was like, wait,
They're like,
Peter Vermes takeover? Manager takeover?
Yes. No, we said the same thing, yeah.
100%, yeah.
All right, so we got one Dallas shout.
No, I mean, I don't really want any of those teams to make it. I like San Jose more than I like those teams, and I'm glad that they're in the driver's seat for right now.
Right now. Jeremy?
I said on last week's pod, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, that I'm more of an RSL believer. And I feel like that's just what happens when you play against Minnesota at home. Like, they're just gonna allow you to take shot after shot after shot after shot. But where I'm struggling with RSL is that's a lot of strikers. Did you need to bring in all of those strikers? Like, it's clear because, first of all, Cruz is there on a loan deal. We're on Cruz. He's there on a loan deal. Olatunji is permanent. Ligada is there. Like, that's a lot of strikers. Where
Xavier
is,
Gozo.
for example, Xavier Gozo. Like, Gozo, I think he's more of a wide player too, but he's been playing as a striker in this team. So where's the center back? Where was the center back that you needed? You got a new right back. Congratulations into getting DeAndre Edlin.
They got rid of Bodie Hidalgo. They got rid of Bodie Hidalgo, though. So.
Yeah. Can you say that's a net upgrade?
Well, I mean,
Oh man.
I don't know. I rate Bodie Hidalgo. I quite like his game,
Yeah.
but I guess Yedlin
Yeah,
is the better player.
he's fine. And also considering that there's going to be a significant cap hit attached to Yedlin for the rest of the season and into next year, depending on how long that extension was. Because I didn't see how many years they gave him on that extension, but like I don't know. It's a weird move, but one that you're just like, okay, I can kind of see it. I just feel like for RSL, they're just such a weird team, but I think they do have more quality than Houston or Dallas. It just depends on whether or not they can put that quality together and play a cohesive game. And this was absolutely a game that they could have won and probably should have won, because Minnesota just gives you the ball and then they beat the shit out of you in like the on set pieces. They beat the shit out of you on the counter. Like it's very easy to game plan against this Minnesota team, and yet teams are still just like, oh no, how did we let this happen again? Like they score another set piece, guys. It's like, oh my god. It's frustrating to watch Minnesota United, but I also have no choice but to support them. For Houston, I don't have anything to say about you, Houston. I'm tired of you. Pablo Ortiz goes off injured in this game. You're cooked. You're absolutely cooked. Will Ben Olsen finally start Lawrence and Ollie in these very important games? I don't think he will. I don't know why he's not doing that. It's ridiculous. San Jose, you are the fun team. Once Ronaldo Vieira gets fully integrated into this like whole setup, you have a solid 4 midfielders to choose from between Kay, Parks, who got a goal in this game. Bolaru, what happened to him? I haven't heard about him in a little bit, but he's still really fun. And Ronaldo Vieira, who is the ground-eating defensive midfielder that Bruce Arena desperately needs in a team that is currently playing with just 2 players in the middle of the park. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of that Ronaldo Vieira signing. I think he raises their floor, which is what you want from a summer signing for a team that is still trying to, I think, escape from the wild card, because they're going to make the playoffs regardless. They need to get out of that wild card spot, though, because they are the most entertaining team in the league this year because anything can happen in any of their games. And they're going to want the security, I guess, of the best of 3 rather than just a one-off, like, what the hell is going to happen here kind of game.
Well, I'm glad you stuck with San Jose, because I figure we should just talk about the rest of the West here, at least in the mid-table. We're going to let LAFC figure their games in hand out before talking about them. So we got Portland, Colorado, San Jose, and Austin. I feel like this is going to be the playoff 4 in some way. The bottom 4, I guess. What are we making on San Jose, guys? Anything else to add on top of Jeremy's point? One thing that bothered me is watching Cristian Arango miss after miss after miss after miss in the last game. Then he makes good on his one first chance here, but that's the Arango experience, right? But fellas, what do you make of San Jose and the rest of these Western teams? Any other thoughts?
When I think, you go, Daniel.
Go ahead. Yeah, real quick. If I'm looking at Austin FC's last 3, I see draw, loss, and they play San Jose next week. I don't know if they end up losing to San Jose. I feel like that opens the door for that Real Salt Lake, FC Dallas, or Houston Dynamo to maybe do the unthinkable. And it's crazy to me for how much we talked about Austin FC, how they're the worst playoff team of the 18 potential playoff teams probably to watch. Everything bad we could have said, and if they are their own demise at the end of this season, I think that would just be cherry on the Sunday. You could choose whatever flavor Sunday you want. That's just the cherry on the season. It's freaking this Western Conference is going to be really, really fun to watch down the end of the stretch here. Sorry, Josh, go ahead.
Specifically about San Jose, it's kind of the opposite of what I mentioned about Houston, in that they rocked up to this 6-pointer away at a place they haven't won in like 10 years, and they won. I think that just shows the mentality that Bruce Arenas bestowed upon this Earthquakes team, an Earthquakes team that normally, I mean, I feel like in years past they would crumble in situations like this. It's a must-win game, and they don't cross the line. You know, having watched SKC, for example, they beat San Jose in the play-in rounds of the playoffs 2 years ago, and you know that's basically a 6-pointer. It means more than that, actually. So with that being said, I am really impressed with how mentally strong the San Jose team is, and I think that they have the guys to solidify their position above the playoff line. Because really, if they had lost, then they would be tied with Houston on points, and Houston would have had a game in hand. So shouts to San Jose, just like mentality wise, they did a really good job in getting this win.
Now, I want to bring up something very interesting because Austin and San Jose, I mean, besides the Ronaldo Vieira signing, which, you know, they kind of needed that final piece there anyways, Austin didn't make much moves either. I mean, they kind of blew their load early, right? They got two big strikers, ended up paying off when one of them went off on the SCI. You know, Brandon Vasquez, rough to see. But by you know, the team that's coming into the playoffs, it's this Austin and San Jose team. Colorado and Portland both have new players across various parts around the field. For Colorado and for Portland, I think the rest of the season is just getting those signings into a comfortable position. Would you agree with that, Jeremy?
I agree that getting those signings into a comfortable position is correct for Colorado. I don't think it's the same for Portland. But really quickly, before I talk about this, before I talk about Colorado and Portland in particular, I like to do a quick Colorado-Austin comparison because this is why you don't bet on Major League Soccer. Or if you do, you have to understand that this league is incredibly stupid. Austin was going to lose in Montreal this weekend. They were. Montreal was due. Like, that's just what's going to happen. Austin was forever going to lose that game. The Rapids losing to the most rotated LA Galaxy team I've ever seen. Like, one where they actually played the kids for once. And not just losing, like just getting run off the field by Harbor Miller of all people.
Played off the field.
Yeah, that's why. And it was obvious that the Galaxy were going to be rotating for this game. It was obvious, like, days before kickoff that they were going to be rotating for this game. Colorado rocks up with a full-strength starting 11, and they've been playing some pretty good ball since Georgie left. They just face-planted. It was one of the more dumbfounding results in the league during this entire season. Like, I feel very comfortable saying that. Not Montreal beating Austin. No, that was expected. That was going to happen. But for some reason, Colorado losing on the road to the reigning champs is something that I'm just like, how the hell did this happen? That's the magic of this league, guys. That's what it is.
It's a completely different story if the Rapids win there. They, instead of 7th, they would be in 6th. With, you know, LAFC still with plenty of games in hand, but one of those games would be against Colorado, you know, so there's every reason for that match. I mean, there's some matches in the season that you can point to as like, man, there's something really off about the team there that's going to come back to bite them. For the Rapids, it was that one. Like, I have a lot to say about it on Burgundy Banter, I will say, but for me, I mean, because for me, like the Portland stuff, I'm not sure. Maybe you can enlighten me what they want to play. If it's that that 3-4-2-1 that they were doing. I mean, same thing with Colorado. Both of these teams can play out of a 3-4-2-1 and play out of a 4-2-3-1. But neither is like, one is like, I think Portland is very much better than that 4-2-3-1. Jeremy, you could disagree with me or not on that. And I think Colorado's better out of a 3-4-2-1. But now these new signings come in from both teams, and it's like, how do we make this puzzle work? So, Jeremy, what do you make of Portland, like, and I guess your puzzle piece?
So I said that Colorado is very much like you're gonna make the playoffs, and this is time to get like these summer signings acclimated. For Portland, they do not have that luxury because they brought in 3 players this summer, and 2 of them are on loan deals, or one's basically a loan deal. Felipe Carbajo, former Red Bull scorer of a playoff banger in their win against New York City FC last year. He is actually in on a loan deal, but Matias Rojas is on it's not even a 6-month contract, is it? It's like a 3-month that technically goes until the end of December after River Plate terminated his deal. So you have 2 players out of the 3 that Portland signed that are basically here for auditions, saying, how far can you carry us in the playoffs? And for the record, Portland is going to finish 6th. They just are. I predicted them to finish 6th at the start of the year. Some national people were like, why do you have them that high? I believe you guys were like, why do you have them this low? I was like, they're just going to be a 6th place team, guys. Like, it's not that hard. And lo and behold, it isn't that hard, both due to how they play and the incompetence of some teams below them. That's the way this league works, guys. The third DP is Christopher Velda, who is the only, I guess, permanent signing, because I'm not counting Rojas as a permanent. He's the only permanent signing during this window. He is a DP. He'll be fine in the long run, I believe, but he's got to hit the ground running, because that's why all 3 of those players came in. They came in to hit the ground running and provide the team the last bit of oomph to take them over the top. I don't know if they're going to take them over the top in the regular season, but I think they could make special things happen in the playoffs. That's where I'm at. I don't think Colorado's new signings are going to do anything crazy in the playoffs. However, I really like Alexis Manyoma.
I do too.
I think he'll be a problem next year. But that's where the conversation framing goes to in the difference between Colorado and Portland. A lot of these Colorado guys, they could be problems next year. Paxton, Manyoma, maybe Rob Holding. I don't know. I think he has to start first. But for Portland, it's like these guys have to make a difference right now. And if they don't make a difference in the immediate right now, they definitely need to make one in the playoffs.
Fellas, rapid fire. If any of these teams were to fall out, which would it be? I think I know where everyone's going to say, but Daniel.
For the listeners, name the 3 teams.
The 4 teams. It's Austin in 9th place with 35 points. San Jose in 8th place with 35 points. Rapids in 7th place with 36 points. Portland in 6th place with 38 points. Salt Lake is 4 points behind the playoff line with 31.
I'm going to say, it's such a cop-out. I'm going to say Austin.
Okay. Jeremy?
In terms of which team falls out?
Yeah, if there was a team to fall out.
It's tough to say Austin because they have games in hand and they have the easiest schedule. But also, they're Austin FC guys, so it's Austin.
Joss?
Purely because you said rapid fire, and I think it'd be funny to say Rapids Fire, Colorado. They drop out, and Paxton Aronson realizes that his true love lies in the Midwest, and he joins up with Kerry Zavagnin in Kansas City.
All right.
Kerry Zavagnin in an administrative role.
Yes, Kerry Zavagnin as the head scout CSO. Yeah,
he becomes the chief soccer officer. That's how he fulfills Vermes' legacy.
No,
because every person who works for this club has to have at least 2 roles within it at once, or else you're not allowed to work there.
Yes, like Jacob Bartlett, he has 2 roles. He can be both a super sub and a disaster class at the same time.
Jacob Bartlett, he can still go back to college.
Damn, that's rough. I was
I'm
gonna
sorry,
say
I'm
that
bitter.
the most carries of Vagnon thing he could do is hire Vermes and be his boss.
Oh my god. Please
They
don't
will
put this on me. I know I just said Rapids. I know I just said the Rapids drop out, but please don't put this on me.
I mean, Kansas City's already dropped out. I don't have to put it on you at all there.
True.
They're blacked
They-
out on that spreadsheet.
They
It
are.
says Seattle is playing a black hole this weekend.
Guys, it's all part of the plan. Trust me. No, guys, I promise.
I say this knowing full well the Rapids might. Fuck. San Jose is my pick. I think it's gonna be fun. The most fun team, Houston. But let's switch over to the Eastern Conference. Honestly, the Beastern Conference, where it really does look like it is a playoff race between New York Red Bulls and Chicago. The New York City did well to win on the road against Cincinnati, so they kind of earned themselves the benefit of the doubt of not being lumped in with these two fellas here. But we got a clear underdog in Chicago, and a clear please stop making the playoffs. It's annoying. You don't do anything. New York Red Bulls. Fellas, both teams dropped points. Charlotte is a rolling steam powered machine here, steamroller. But what are we thinking of these teams, guys? I think the loss against Philly is a bit, you can forgive that. 6-pointer, arguably against Charlotte. That was New York's to win. I'll go to Daniel since that's the immediate game. That's his team also.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the New York Red Bulls. It's just tough watching them. When I made the original analogy that it was like pulling teeth to score goals, I originally thought of that when I was thinking of the New York Red Bulls, because every single shot that they took against Charlotte, outside of a couple chances created by Choupo-Moting inside the box that didn't seem like they were legitimate scoring chances. I mean, they were, because they were shots on target, but it still felt like they were pulling teeth. I mean, multiple shots from outside the box where it felt like there was no patience. And it's got to be frustrating for New York Red Bull fans, because you go out and sign a guy like Choupo-Moting. You see people on Twitter saying he's tearing up the league, which anyone who actually watches the league know he's not. And then it's like he has a high IQ, right? He has a decent motor. He has a high IQ. He sits in the box. He tries to create chances, but he doesn't have anyone to help finish them either. So it's just like it just feels like a team that's just waiting for the season to end from this perspective of New York Red Bulls. Was really disappointed. I mean, I know we're not talking about game to game, but was really disappointed with how Forsberg has performed over this last couple game stretch. And obviously, a player of that caliber should be, your focal point of the team. And I feel like they've really, really lacked that from his perspective. Watching Tim Parker get absolutely sent by Gorno, that was satisfying as hell. We'll talk about that more when we get to Charlotte, because they are really starting to round out here. But yeah, I mean, this Red Bull team, I just don't see how they make it to the playoffs when you take into account that they have Columbus twice, Portland, NYCFC, who is on fire right now, and Cincinnati. Their only gimme game there is Montreal. And that's going to be like watching two teams pulling teeth that whole game. So
No, it isn't. Montreal will be fun.
Are they pulling each other's teeth?
Probably more of the Red Bulls pulling teeth, because they'll be fighting for a playoff position after they just dropped points to Columbus and Portland.
Got it.
But yeah. So no, there's not a whole lot of optimism surrounding this New York Red Bulls team, just from an outsider looking in on their situation. Going to Charlotte and winning was always going to be a very, very tall task, and they've had winnable games in the past, so you can't really feel bad for them, considering they put themselves in positions and have not gotten points out of them in the past. Like, you had to beat Charlotte, and it didn't happen. So I just don't really see a path for them going forward, honestly.
Beat or draw, right? Because draw, and at least you have a point ahead on Chicago, who still have that game in hand. Let's talk about one of those games in hand. It was against Philly, which I thought was a taller task, right? Charlotte, but I mean, Charlotte's on a 7-game win streak. Philly really kind of needed this for their, not only just for, but get back into like a very dominant game, right? Talk about Philly in a little bit, but Chicago, is everyone kind of still sold on Chris Brady? What are we thinking of him, man?
Oh,
I know his wall sold him on that second goal. Went from there, but I can't help but feel that it's tough because they did get rid of Carlos Turan. Didn't mention that, but that was a big transfer. I felt like just as he got healthy, just as he was about to get, Chicago back into like, because I felt he played well when he came back. Transferred immediately. They got Joel Waterman from Montreal, which is one of my favorite moves of that window. And so I think a Waterman, Jack Elliott, center back pairing, while it was like great, I mean, they could have used it against Philly. I'm excited to see what that looks like. But what are the rest of the fellas' thoughts on Chicago? Go to you, Joss.
I mean, this past weekend, Chicago, they played exactly into the script that they've been playing into this whole season, in that they're good against the teams around them in the table, but when they go to the teams that are occupying the top 3-4 spots in the East, they get smacked around. And that's exactly what happened here. They lost 4-0 to Philadelphia in Philly, so take that. Take with that what you will. So Chicago not only held 4, but then they were also holding 4 in Chester. So that sucks for everybody. But when I think about the Chicago team, I'm not worried about them missing out yet. But again, because this is kind of par for the course. I think for the rest of the season, we can look to see like their schedule, and we can get a pretty good prediction of where they're going to end up. So next up, they play New England, and then after that, they play NYCFC. Then they go to Minnesota. Then they're at home to Columbus. Then they're away to Miami. Then they host Toronto, and then they're away to New England. So of those games, really, it's the Columbus and then Miami game that we, based on their form so far this season, we'll say those are probably losses. But then the one against New England, the 2 against New England, the one against Toronto, the one against NYCFC, and the one against Minnesota, those are way more doable for them, as shown by their record this season. In fact, I have it here. They can't beat anyone good. They have 0 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws in games against Philly, Cincy, Nashville, Miami, and Columbus. And they have 11 wins, 4 losses, and 4 draws against everybody else. Man. So, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, that's a perfect descriptor of this game matches up exactly with what we've seen so far from them this season. So, again, not worried about them not making the playoffs. I think their remaining schedule is easy enough for them to make it all the way through and maybe just squeak in at that 9th or 8th spot. But yeah, I don't think they won't do anything beyond that, because they can't beat anybody who are really good.
Have we considered the terrifying prospect of both of the most fun teams in the league missing out on the playoffs in San Jose and Chicago? Yeah. Like, I have not taken any of that into account, because I believe they will both make the playoffs, but I will say that will be a incredibly disappointing way for this season to end, or at least the regular season. Like, whatever happens in the playoffs is going to happen. It's going to be nonsense either way, no matter who comes out of there with the cup. Probably Orlando. But,
yeah,
we'll get to them.
Sorry, Jeremy, I cut out a little bit. Yeah. Were you talking?
A little bit,
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
It's okay. The crazy thing about Chicago is, like, oh, is Chris Brady real? Like he's the Brian Gutierrez of goalkeepers, and Brian Guti and Chris Brady is the Brian Guti. Wait, and then that makes Brian Gutierrez the Chris Brady of midfielders. Are they good? Are they good, guys? I don't know. I don't know. When I see people saying, "Oh, Gutierrez, he's going to go to Europe this summer," really?
Oh, hell
Is
no.
he?
Saying that?
No, no. Is Chris Brady going to get like? Is Chris Brady going to become like the Europe conversations haven't entered for Chris Brady yet? But is he going to get like become a top 15 goalkeeper in this league? Oh, he hasn't yet. I'm not surprised by that either. It's weird because I feel like there's a good everyone else on this roster you can get like kind of a good beat on, and there's a general consensus about like how good they are. But then you get to those two, and I think it's just because they're American. No one can come to an agreement on like are they good or not, and it's really funny. And it's for two players that I think Gutierrez less so because here comes Andre Franco who really want to be in Chicago. Bye to your Brian to your starting spot, Brian, you dingus. But Chris Brady, he's gonna have to remain the starter, isn't he? He's their number one goalkeeper. I think he's got to get a little bit better. So, yeah, I feel like that end of season stretch for Chicago, particularly like they don't just play Columbus and Miami back to back. They play Columbus and Miami back to back over the period of 4 days. Like that's a 4-day stretch. So they go from hosting Columbus to traveling to Miami. That's not very good travel wise, but I think Miami's also going to be exhausted at that point in the season too. That could be game of the year potential. I can't wait for that one, just for the pure stupidity. But yeah, Colorado's. I mean, Chicago. They're going to make the playoffs. They will. They're gonna get New York out of there. If the New York Red Bulls somehow manage to make the playoffs over the Chicago Fire this year, I'm gonna be so disappointed. I might actually cry, like shed tears of how sad I would be.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is the playoff race. New York's got a lot of games to drop if they're gonna have a crash out here. Think they crash out? I mean, is it really just between Red Bulls and Chicago? Yeah.
NYCFC's not going to crash out. They're fine.
Yeah, it's just Chicago and New York then. So
the playoff record, Juan.
I know.
We can't forget about the Red Bulls playoff record.
0 MLS Cup.
What is it? What is it? 15 years?
Is it 15?
No.
9.
It's a long time. It's a long time. Hang on. You guys can keep talking. I'm going to Google it.
Pretty sure 9 just because that's how long I've been watching the league.
Well, if I think about it, the Red Bulls, they've always I go by 2011 as like the start of my like MLS
15.
knowledge.
They are this would be their 15th or this would be their 16th consecutive year making the playoffs.
Golly.
Red Bull, you're not going to be there for the Red Bulls 15 años, guys?
That's crazy.
Does Forsberg get a dress for the quinceañera, or does Choupo-Moting get it?
Forsberg.
How about Dylan Nealis?
Yeah, how about that?
I wonder what Sean will think about that, because I think he wanted that dress.
Either way,
Tough shit.
I'm not here for that 15. I want through and through. But any other thoughts on the Eastern playoff race? Do you guys want to talk about the next few teams above them?
Well, as we talked about Chris Brady, what is the likelihood that Chicago pulls New England and brings back Gaga on loan?
Ooh, that would be everything. That would be everything.
Is that would that be the equivalent of giving Chris Brady the Drake Calendar treatment?
What?
You hear that?
Yeah, what does that sound? Is that you, Daniel?
That was Daniel.
Oh, that is me. I am so sorry.
It sounded like you were brushing your teeth.
No, I can't believe it was that loud. I can't believe that was that loud. Professional podcasting here.
It is kind of like that, except I think Calendar's actually a really good keeper.
Yes.
No, but Calendar's not fun. Like Chris Brady's fun. I want fun. He's like a thug out there. I love him. He's amazing. I would take him at Charlotte.
Damn, Chris Brady over Christian Felina.
But you just got Calendar too.
As a long-term project, and I would also rather have Brady than Calendar because of fun. I like fun. I like fun things. I go to like amusement parks and shit. Chris Brady's the amusement park of goalkeepers.
Damn, amazing. And if he's not in the playoffs, there's no fireworks.
To be clear, Daniel, you want Chris Brady on Charlotte, a team that is going to get 30% possession every single game and face 20 shots. You want Chris Brady on Charlotte for that.
I would love to see Chris Brady against that. That'd be awesome. Dude, he'd be out of the box more than he'd be in it. It'd be awesome. That dude.
Wait. Are you saying he'd be outside the box?
Defender.
Dude, I don't know. There's just something about sweeper keeper Chris Brady. I'd probably pull my hair out every single week, but it would be fun and it would just be highlight central. He's created some of my favorite MLS moments this season just from his absurdness. But to put it lighter, like I'm part of the media, he's brave, he's courageous, he takes chances that no one else would.
One thing to say about that, Daniel, and I not that I disagree at all with what you're saying. I think it's hilarious that you said Chris Brady's a thug when he's from Naperville, Illinois, dude. Their median income is $150K. And he played in Chicago Fire's youth setup forever, bro. If anything, he is the opposite of a thug.
He's a white-collar thug. I've seen Suits. I know how those people act. He's in the boardroom bullying people. He's got his suit on. He's a white-collar thug.
That's crazy.
God, if it wasn't for soccer, he'd be an accountant somewhere. God damn.
I can't wait for our team of the year, but it's gonna be like the most unhinged, just most content team. Because now I'm thinking Chris Brady. And then Morris Duggan, and then who else? Who else would you put on the content team?
Chris Brady is GK1 for sure.
You go Kuipers.
So is Morris Duggan.
I'm putting Bald Jansen Miller on there.
Putting Shallowy on there.
Oh,
Jeremy,
dude, you could put like half of.
Put Evander. We have to put Evander.
I'm putting Jesus Ferreira on the right wing.
Oh god. Oh god. But fellas, let's backtrack here because the Eastern Conference. Well, let's save the East, man. The East is honestly where this year is at. Let's go back to the West real quick. Let's look at our top 5 teams: LAFC, Seattle, Vancouver, Minnesota, and now the first team officially qualified for the playoffs, San Diego, who have an X next to their name here. Let's start with LAFC. I think I had Jeremy on that one. I think we touched on LAFC a little bit, but I'll open it up to Daniel and Joss. Any LAFC thoughts for y'all? Are we feeling the Son Heung-min's hype just yet? That goal was amazing.
How are you guys feeling about center forward Son? Are we confident in that project? I am personally. I love it. There are some great forwards in this league, and I don't think like bar for bar, like he plays it better than some people. But he is fun and he is great in transition. What do you guys think of the center forward Son project?
I agree with Daniel's assessment.
Joss?
Wow, that feels good. Thanks, Jeremy.
He's a much better 9 for this system than Giroud ever was, and he's not even a real 9.
I mean, he was fucking showing off his techers, bro. I'm definitely sun-pilled, bro. I love this edition. I think this is one of the better, I know you can point to many different windows in MLS, but this one truly feels like MLS did take a step forward because as it had been a selling league like towards a lot of last year, I wrote an article about this like way in the past that we were like the league was due this kind of quality in players coming in here, right? So like even Son at his age still has so much quality. I'm a big fan of that one. But beyond that, like the whole window knocked it out of the park. LAFC, I think it's only a matter of time until they're cooking again. I think are we thinking they leap Seattle and Vancouver? They do have 2 games in hand on them, 3 games in hand on Minnesota and San Diego above them. But first things first, they got to get on level with Seattle, who do have like them in 2 games. But what's the ceiling for this LAFC team with Sun? What are you guys thinking? Do they host the playoff?
I've been waiting for this LAFC conversation because I think the most consequential injury, or potentially most consequential injury in the league, like happened in this LAFC Dallas game when Igor Jesus left the game. I don't know who they have on this roster to replace him. I think Andrew Moran, their new signing, he's more attacking oriented. He's certainly more of an 8. I don't think they have another like 6 that could properly replace Igor Jesus.
They do though.
Who?
Mark Delgado.
I don't want Mark Delgado as a 6. I think if you're putting Mark Delgado as a 6, you're like a lone 6. Keep in mind, in the base of a 4-3-3, I think you're losing some of the stuff that makes him good.
No, I don't think so at all. I think he does just enough well there as lone 6 as he typically did a bit. I know he got kind of snubbed towards the end of the year for a Marco Royce and Puig partnership there, and they find to just be ahead of Cerrillo. So I kind of get that as well. But I can't help but feel that, I mean, right there is a guy in Mark Delgado who could, I think, comfortably shift and play there. And that allows you to play a guy like Juanners, who I had, had been a bit off about because I'm like, I love Juanners, but I would love him on my team as a starter, right? Like on LAFC as depth, like that makes me kind of sad. Now he can just slot right in the Mark Delgado role. I think he's a better fit there. I think that is a better style fit for all 3 of them. They're going to keep Tillman out. And that keeps Frankie Amaya on the bench. So hater energy there. But what do y'all think about LAFC? Thinking they hit that next gear even without Igor Jesus?
That's hard,
Yes.
man.
Yeah, I think so. Why do you think it's hard?
I think Igor Jesus just has such a unique profile within the league, and he's so consequential for this LAFC team that no matter who they throw there, like it is almost impossible to replace him right now for LAFC. I think I don't think they have any players that can do what he does well enough, whether it be like conducting tempo as a 6 or even dropping into the back line as an extra center back. I think that he's just so uniquely talented and so important to how LAFC and Dolo want to build up and create chances and defend the goal, stop chances, run the midfield, that it'll be really hard to replace him. I'm curious if what their plan is for that while he's out.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's possible they go back to the back 3. Play Hollingshead as a wing back. Play Smolyakov as a wing back. You got Ryan Porteous now, so you do have an extra center back there. Even Palencia can play as an outside center back because of just how I'd say, man, he really is just like a gritty lunch pail guy in this league, isn't he? But based on the way that he defends wide areas, so it could absolutely make sense to see LAFC go back to the back 3, which, I mean, Dolo, he does that in big games. They're getting closer to like big game season. So something to consider depending on how serious this Igor Jesus injury is. Because I'm more comfortable with Mark Delgado and Tillman as part of a midfield 2 with an extra center back behind them than I am with Delgado operating as a lone six.
I
Yeah.
I think no matter what, LAFC in both cases stand a lot better than the rest of the West.
So they have San Diego FC next, which should be winnable, right? And then they have San Jose, Real Salt Lake twice, St. Louis City, Atlanta United, and Toronto. Yes, Tim Tillman is bad, and with Igor Jesus being out for as long as he is, like they're gonna have to rely on him more. Not bad, bad's not the right word, but he's been his worst season with the black and gold. But that's a very winnable back stretch to this season, and that's where I think they're gonna get their points from. The midfield could be worse because it will be, but this is just such a cupcake end of the season. I mean, it's like theirs for the taking. Yeah, that's one hard game. They have San Jose, RSL twice, St. Louis City, Atlanta United, and Toronto. Like, that is their next 7. They shouldn't drop any points to them, right?
I think by the time they get there, I think we'll really know what they're going to look like. Because then, I mean, that next game's going to be everything without Jesus. I mean, they've done well without Long, and that's kind of a testament to LAFC as the team in the West here that is, kind of always, in some cases, setting the mark, and in other cases, sometimes pissing everyone off. Let's figure out about Seattle though. They got a gimme game this past weekend against Sporting Kansas City. Sorry to dig that wound up, Josh, but put in Danny Leyva, Cody Baker, John Bell, a full rotation, a full a flex of their depth as well. Seattle is still Seattle. No new signings. I think Jeremy talked a bit about their development. Seeing guys like Snyder Brunell and Cody Baker. I mean, Cody Baker is. I don't know how y'all feel about him. He's whatever. But Leyva finally playing as a 10. Like, at the Rapids, he never played as a 10. And if I had known he was an actual 10, and instead of actually seeing him in the frame of a holding midfielder where he started, I would have a very different, take on Leyva. But I don't know. Like, good to see him in that position. Musovski, of course, is just automatic. He's very, very good. Any other thoughts on Seattle other than just their depth here standing the test of time and time again?
Would you call this season up to now with the expectations that were laid out before the first kickoff? Would you call this season a disappointment for Seattle?
No.
I'm only asking that because they made all these roster moves the very beginning of the season in the spring, and we were like, okay, these guys are legit. They're going for a push here, right? So they go off to get knocked out of the CCC, which is something they always try to play for. It's like, okay, we'll see what they do in the Club World Cup. They got smoked in that, and then they just got smoked in Leagues Cup, and they're out of contention for the Shield. Like, they might, with the roster they built and how much we hyped it up for it to not be as good as it is, doesn't it feel like they've kind of underperformed? They might walk away trophyless this year.
They're still in Leagues Cup, though.
No, they got knocked out by Puebla, didn't they?
Oh.
No, they're going to LAFC.
They're playing the Galaxy tonight.
Oh, they play the Galaxy tonight.
Yeah, LAFC.
Oh. Okay, never mind. Sorry, Seattle fans. That's tough. That's tough. I worked up that whole pitch, and I was wrong.
Jeremy's been rubbing off on you.
Just the hatred. I can feel the hatred.
That could change if they lose to the Galaxy tonight, which could be pretty funny, guys.
I'm here.
But the other part of that is the other part is if they lose to the Galaxy tonight, they still have a third place game in which they can still get their CCL spot. Guys,
which they will.
They have the opportunity to lose 2 more frivolous games, like the games they lost in the Club World Cup. I have to support them in their quest to get knocked out of as many competitions as humanly possible in humiliating fashion.
That's just pure hater shit.
At the same time, like, it's absolutely ridiculous that they can just change the entire team around against, well, aside from Christian Roldan, noted. They still, Schmetzer still has to hit the Christian Roldan button every single game. That's a problem. Not because, like, oh, he's Christian Roldan, like, is he good? No, he's obviously good, but that's a lot of minutes for him. I was kind of hoping for a USMNT call up, you know. That would be really funny. Just like, he's doing everything. He's playing for the national team. He's whatever. But I think that this season is set up so perfectly for the Sounders to just lose every single major competition in humiliating fashion. That's really what it's all about, you know. Like, you some teams win trophies, other teams just choke, and this seems like it's a Sounders choke season more than anything.
I will say
good, but
I will say this.
Yeah.
If they lose to the Galaxy tonight, this take is gonna hit like crack. I'm preying on their downfall now. This is amazing because listeners aren't gonna hear this till tomorrow. Listeners, just know I was right or wrong. We're gonna find out.
Man, I might actually tune in to a Leagues Cup match. See, fellas, let's talk about Vancouver, who did get away with a little penalty, a little bit of a, I don't know. I'll leave it to you all. I don't think it's a penalty, but so I feel like so many people have been trying to convince me otherwise. So many things. I feel for some of them. I don't think that's a penalty. Beyond that, though, I don't think a draw would have hurt Vancouver here either. So it's like, yeah, they won at home. They're still kind of getting, hit the button again on Ryan Gauld, right? Because that's kind of been putting him in the box State Footy team of the year, content team of the year. Ryan Gauld, starting winger, played like a few minutes the first match day. Hasn't seen him yet, but I don't know what. It's kind of one of the more bummer things. It's very surprising that Vancouver find themselves without Gauld. But what are we thinking about this team, even with kind of a fluky win against St. Louis, which, whatever, right? Go to Joss.
First of all, in my professional, unbiased opinion, it was a full penalty. And I think that the St. Louis player is lucky to have gotten off with just a penalty and not an assault charge, if I'm being honest with you. I personally do not like to see that sort of violence on my pitch, on my field. And really, he could have been killed. So all the St. Louis fans who are whining about what happened, I think you're lucky to get away with that. Okay, I think you're lucky to still have him available for selection. Okay, because again, in my opinion, full penalty, could have been in a court of law charged for more than that. So that's just my 2 cents. Again, completely unbiased opinion. But with that being said, more about Vancouver. Thomas Muller grabbed his first MLS goal from the aforementioned penalty, and it's always good to see your big name signing grab their first goal for the club, especially if they're an attacker. So that's good for them. Maybe that'll help him carry on. I also think that Muller was very frank in his post-match interview, saying like he thought that they played a little bit too emotional sometimes, and that they might have wanted it too much. I think that that's an interesting take. I mean, Muller he's played on the biggest stages. He's played in Champions League finals. He's played in World Cup finals. He's won the World Cup. He's won the Champions League. But he is the kind of guy to know about these specific situations where he thinks they might be playing too much. But with all that, I think that I'll default to him when he says something about like he thinks they wanted it too much. Personally, I don't know how possible that is. I don't know how that can affect your game. But he is the professional athlete, and I am the professional penalty raider. So maybe default to him about that. I just think it's an interesting take, and I'd like to hear what you guys think about that specifically. Do you think that maybe Vancouver wanted too much? That maybe they feel like they're trying to make up for the lost position that they've had over the summer, where they have kind of not tumbled down the rankings, but definitely took it a tumble down the rankings. What do you guys think? Do they want it too much?
Are you saying Thomas? Are you saying Thomas was a bit too frank here?
Nice.
Ooh.
That was good.
Nice.
That was very good.
That was pretty good.
I'm proud of myself for that one.
You should be.
I think Vancouver is like, I don't know if they like want it too much. I think every team should want to win their home games. I don't think there's a problem of like wanting to win your home games too much. I don't know how once again default to Thomas Mueller on this one, but like you want to win home games, especially now that there's actually fans at BC Place, which has been a problem for them in years past. The team got good, and all of a sudden, wow, we can go see a good soccer team in our city. That's fun. So they're actually selling out the building, and I think the team's actually starting to feed a bit on the energy of the crowd. So good for them, like you wanted it so much that I think it was Mikey Joyner, who is, I guess, the guy, quote unquote, at fault for this penalty, who does the most Jedi mind trick I've ever seen in an MLS soccer game this year by forcing Matias Laborda to kick himself with his mind. He just said, "You're going to kick yourself on this." And he did. And he went over and he got the penalty, which is absolutely not a penalty. I don't like going against professional penalty raiders like Joss, but at least that's how I see it. It's a very subjective call. I've noticed that everyone who tries to convince me that it is a penalty ends up taking 5 minutes to explain how it is a penalty. If you're taking 5 minutes to state your case, I don't think that's clear and obvious. So, yeah. Other than that, Vancouver, this was a game they should have won, and they did. No matter how hokey and jokey it really was.
Yeah, if it takes you all of stoppage time to beyond that, I it's insane how this team. I still wish Vite and Muller would have been so much more fun. I guess Sabi, Sabi and Nelson have both kind of cooled off at kind of the worst time, but Muller can get going, man. Muller can get going. It's gonna be, not just on a penalty, like that first goal that he scored but didn't count. Man, that would have been a different kind of like statement, goal. The penalties, like, sure, he gets it back. Man, I can't help but think we were just robbed at that debut goal. Let's talk Minnesota, of course. I mentioned them.
One more thing before we move on. We need to talk about Thomas Mueller accidentally announcing Tristan Blackman's call up to the USMNT. That's just very funny. Thomas Mueller is the kind of guy to come over and just be a big personality in this league. And I think that if he was more marketable, not to say that he's not, but he's just not like imagine if Messi had Muller's charisma. Good Lord, man. Imagine how many Inter Miami jerseys. Good God. It's very funny that's how we hear about Tristan Blackman's inclusion in the lineup. Thank you to Daniel for reminding me of that.
On the chat that I missed. Oh, there.
I mean, it was such a funny moment. We had to talk about it. That was hilarious.
Let's move on to Minnesota. Morris Duggan minutes late in the match. First game without Tani Oluwaseyi. They go with Rosales in as the right winger, and they still just kind of just ran with this game and over classic Minnesota, right? And to see the fact that Tanny, wait, what? Tanny was in this game? Am I seeing that correctly? Tanny was not in this game, was he? Oh, I guess he was. He was in the subs. Well, my bad. That for some reason I thought he had already been sold, but did he end up getting sold or not?
He's getting sold. It's
Flat.
just that because the arrivals window has closed,
Right.
the departures haven't. So
Man,
he's going to end up getting sold.
In any case, Rosales, I think even as a starter, they got those 3 goals without him. So by the time he came on, it was all a matter of fact. 3-1 here. But any other thoughts as the impending Tanny? Man, that kind of, I don't know what the hell I was smoking then, because I thought he was gone, but soon to be gone. What are you guys thinking about Minnesota? They were like the one team I think we all just really hit the nail head on being.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so sound. Like, it feels like there's a lot of teams in this league that go on runs where they'll lose 2 or 3, have a draw, maybe have a win in that window, and then they'll get hot. And Minnesota's just been so sound all year. They haven't really been streaky, I feel like. So because of that, it's really hard to like say anything negative against them because there are very few teams doing what they're doing right now. At least in my opinion. They're legitimately a top 4 or 5 team in the league, I think, just in terms of consistency.
Yep.
Other team up there is San Diego. I don't want to default to Jeremy here because a lot of what I saw in San Diego these past few weeks have been kind of fraudulent. After you seeing a 0-0 here between the two, what did you make of this matchup between San Diego and Portland? Like, are you seeing the faults that I am in the San Diego team?
I'm seeing how good teams could beat them more so than them being fraudulent, because I don't think you can really be fraudulent when you have Anders Dreyer on one wing who can completely break open a game by himself, which is, it's kind of nuts that Dreyer, it's still kind of crazy to me that Dreyer's just better than Lozano in this league. And I know it's just like, oh yeah, Lozano, name recognition, like blah, blah, blah. But like when the guy who was brought in to be the Vela is not the Vela, and it's the other guy who is being the Vela, what does that make Lozano, who's been very good this year in his own right? And now that they, I think, have like temporarily fixed the striker problem, depending on how severe Corey Baird's injury is, they're just a really good, well-built, well-constructed, well-coached team. The problem is where's that playoff experience? And that's why I don't think they're going to get very far in the playoffs, particularly because with the way they've been able to amass so many points, which is just dominate the last 15 minutes of games. In this game, they came up against Finn Sermon for the first time. Finn Sermon does not like it when you try and steal a game in the last 15 minutes. He will erase you, specifically if the you happens to be Amal Pellegrino, who San Diego has now. Okay, I guess they have Amal Pellegrino. Did not see that one coming, but it makes sense at the same time, because as Juanners was really quick to remind me, Amal Pellegrino is a baller. And he just, for some reason, it didn't really work in San Jose. He missed a lot of very easy chances in San Jose. I think he'll be better in San Diego. But my main takeaway from this game, from the San Diego perspective, and this also ties in a little bit with the Timbers, I think we saw a duel, at least by we, anyone who watched this game, you saw a duel between 2 future 8-figure center backs. with Finn Sermon on one side and Manu Dua on the other. And Manu Dua is absurd. He came from the University of California, Santa Barbara. Go Gauchos. Go the entire Big West Conference for that matter. And this man plays with like the confidence of a 10-year vet. And I understand that like maybe Kevin Kelsey isn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. I don't think he is. I think he's good at certain things, but he's also very easy to bait, like when he's trying to press you. And the amount of just like body feints that I saw Manu Dua do in this game, I was like, dang, this dude knows how good he is, and he knows how to play ball. He's one of the best on-ball center backs in this entire league already. And I was really impressed by him first and foremost when I watched this team. More so than Luca Bombino, who still put in a hell of a shift playing on the opposite flank at right back than he does at left back. So this is an elite roster build, but what makes it an elite roster build is the coaching. And Varas came out of this game basically saying like, "Oh, we're disappointed not to have won this. We should have won this game." Like, not really. You only had one shot on target, and you were lucky that Felipe Mora flubs a chance at the back post. So kind of unfortunate, more so than just an absolute like missing a sitter in the 80th minute. But I think there was a pretty interesting 0-0, and I got to like think a lot more about tactics watching the Timbers than I have in recent weeks. And that's always fun.
We'll circle back to San Diego because they do have Shield implications. They were the Shield leaders before the weekend. Lost it to Philadelphia. But before we get, let's switch over to the East. Talk from New York City to Philly. We have what is truly one of the best. I mean, for as shit as the rest of the lower, I mean, talking for as shit as DC United has been already. Atlanta, Montreal, Toronto, New England. These teams allow teams like New York City, Columbus, Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, Nashville, Cincy, Philly. They give all of these teams just such like good amount of parity here because any one of these teams can realistically beat each other. Let's start first with Nashville and Orlando because that was kind of the OTB kind of only one of us can really contend for the Shield here. Nashville kind of put themselves in a little bit of the conversation, I will say. 4 points behind Philly. It's like the tough chase, but nonetheless they are chasing. But I want to open it up to y'all fellas, what y'all make of this game. I know Orlando rotated because they are currently in Leagues Cup. Last I saw, they were winning 1-0. That could have very, very much have changed. 1-0 still in the for them. But yeah, what do you guys make of that match? And then we can run down the rest of the East here or after. But Nashville, for all of the they need a third guy to step up. Kind of doing Jason Palacios, but I mean, still the Hani show and the Sam Surge show. There, what are you guys making of Nashville? Start with Daniel.
I think this was a game that they needed very, very, very badly. We talked last week about how a few of us could see that they would be the team that's just going to pack it in, really try to avoid injuries as they try to make a playoff push, right, and try to potentially win some hardware this year. So this was a great win for them, especially when they're going into Atlanta next week, which has kind of been theoretically on paper a team that they should dominate with how they play. I think it's always really, really fun when Jacob Schaffelberg has a nice game. Really enjoyed watching him since 2022. I think he's very, very, I don't know how to describe it. He's just very direct. He's very gritty. He kind of is up and down the pitch. He's all over the place. So when you see a guy like him stand out in a game like this, it looks good and it feels good because he's just a fun player to watch.
What are we feeling about Orlando? Is this just kind of a a game they kind of had to sacrifice. I don't think there's any shame in losing this one, honestly. What do y'all make of it, fellas?
No, there's no shame in Orlando losing this game. Clearly, they rotated heavily for their Leagues Cup semifinal, which they're currently in. So it's hard to sort of, which they are winning. So it might pay off for Oscar Pareja. I think if you were to do like a cost benefit analysis for them, let's say if they were to win this game against Miami in Leagues Cup, they may have lost the ground in the Shield race, and this may condemn them to no longer being Shield contenders, but they would be in the Leagues Cup final. Or even if they lose, they're still playing a third place game in a tournament. So, not as glamorous, I think, but neither is the Shield. Who really cares about the Shield? I think that Orlando can't really take much from this game. There's not really much to analyze here. It was kind of a baptism of fire for their left center back signing. Who is it? What's his name?
Orlando.
Yeah. Or maybe it's right back. Yes. Yeah. From Braga. I mean, yeah, throwing him up against Hani Mukhtar, that's hard. That's a hard welcome for sure. So I think that there's maybe something that you can kind of analyze there, kind of see where Marine's strengths might be. But for Nashville, if we can talk Nashville too, Sam Surridge, 20 goals on the season. Who saw that coming? Did any of us?
I always rated
not
Sam
20.
Surridge, but not 20. Yeah, 20 is insane.
Yeah.
Lots of penalties in there.
Right. True. That's a good point, Jeremy.
But it's also like,
but
if
20
you
goals
want
is
the
20
video
goals.
game numbers, you're gonna have to.
That's true. And Juan, you mentioned kind of bringing this up. You mentioned like, who's the third guy that can step up for Nashville? Do they need a third guy? When Hani Mukhtar's got 14 goals and 7 assists, and Sam Surridge has got 20 goals and 3 assists, do you even need a third guy when your first two guys are that lethal?
Yes.
Okay, never mind.
You absolutely need a third guy.
Okay,
Mukhtar,
sorry.
I saw a stat the other day where Mukhtar, I think he's like covered the third most distance in the entire league as an attacker.
That's insane.
Yikes.
Do you know who that third guy is? It's Andy Nahar, and I'm tired of pretending it's not. 1 goal and 7 assists on the season.
The assist is crazy. Definitely.
Yeah, that's actually crazy.
But I mean, it would be nice to see Schaffel, like, kind of really. I felt like there was a lot of hype at the beginning of the season for him, and it's not been as. I mean, I know he got that goal against. Never feels like for him it's building or going towards, Then I'm at Cosm.
I agree. Yeah, Cosm, especially. I mean, I still think of that game against Charlotte, where sorry, Daniel, but he ran your ass.
Yes, he did.
I think
Yes, he
I was
did.
expecting more from him. And the forgotten man, also Tyler Boyd. I actually completely forgot that he was even on Nashville, but I remember a few years ago he seemed to be like, specifically for the USMNT, not so much in MLS, but when he got acquired from the Galaxy, I thought, that might be a really good place for him to go and really just kind of be away from the spotlight, really just let himself shine, but he's not been able to do anything. So I personally don't think that they need that third guy when the first two are so good, but I can see the argument, if one goes down with an injury, then where does that leave Nashville? I don't know.
Now, sticking with you, Josh, tell us about Columbus, man. What are you making of them? They kind of had a embarrassing line. But they did get Abu Ali make his debut. Columbus sure have lost their juice, though, haven't they?
Yeah. Abu Ali did make his debut, which is good. I mean, I'm always hesitant about like midseason acquisitions, like summer window acquisitions, because where do you judge a midseason acquisition? You know, a player coming in the middle of the season has to get up to speed, has to get used, especially if they're coming from outside the league, has to get used to the league, the physicality, the pace, everything. I personally reserve judgment until the player's been in the league for a year. I think, especially when it comes to these summer window acquisitions. But that's just me. I understand how difficult it can be, especially coming from because he was in Egypt, right? Abu Ali.
Yes.
Yeah, he was at. Was he at Al Ali?
Yeah.
Was it
Al
Ali? Okay, Abu Ali at Al Ali. It's a completely different game on the field. It's a completely different culture off the field. Wilfred Nancy is one of the best coaches in the league still. So I don't doubt that he'll end up getting something from Abu Ali. Again, I don't know what qualifies really as a success this season. I'm thinking towards next year. 10, 15 goals for Abu Ali. That's probably what I would be shooting for if I were a Columbus fan. That's what I'd be hoping to get out of him. But yeah, 2-1 loss to the Revs is not great. That probably ends their Shield hopes for me.
I mean, yeah.
It's also just
they've long been gone for the Shield, in my opinion. Really,
yeah.
The question for me is: do we think Columbus goes to 8th? Do we think Columbus can get a higher ceiling right now? Because this is, as Wilfred Nancy said, his best group, and it's crazy they have not replaced Cucho, and I think Abu Ali should enough, because I do agree it's always a tough coming in mid-season. It's always difficult. They've needed to get a Cucho Hernandez replacement for a while now. You know what I mean? It's like, can't afford not to make this. I'm looking at the stuff New York City is doing. They got a game in hand as well. I feel like New York City, with just how they've been kind of cooking, they have that rat of a field, fucking Yankee State. But beyond that, I do see a world where Columbus could fall in 8th. And who knows? Maybe we get Columbus, Chicago in the play-in. That would be, oh my God. I'm writing the script.
We can only be so spoiled.
I'm writing the script.
It'd be fun
right now. What are we making Columbus?
I do think that, I mean, they're missing Darlington Nagbe. They're missing one of the best midfielders in the league still. I think he'll come back and will reinsert himself into this midfield, reignite that partnership he had with Chambos for most of the year. So I'm reserving my thoughts until Darlington Nagbe comes back. Sean Zawadzki's another one. He's been forced to play at center back every game, which is huge. Which is that's not his best position either. And then with Mo Farsi, another player who's been out for Columbus. So they're missing two guys that are instant starters when they're healthy. And they'll be back in September. So I think when they're back, we'll start to see hopefully a turnaround in form for Columbus. Because really, that midfield is where they're losing the game. They're just not controlling it enough. They're not aggressive enough. And Darlington Nagbe by himself, he raises the level of that midfield, and thus raises the level of Columbus. So I don't think they'll fall to 8th because Darlington Nagbe's coming back.
Can I bring in some complete out of context stats for this?
Sure.
Yes.
I would like to do some comparison between Columbus, who are currently in 7th, and their biggest rivals, FC Cincinnati, who are in 2nd. Currently, Columbus has a 7-point gap between themselves and Cincinnati. They also have a game in hand. Columbus has scored more goals than Cincinnati has this year. They've scored one more, to be exact, 43 to 42. Cincinnati has allowed 4 fewer goals than Columbus has this year, 35 to 39. Congratulations to both of them, keeping Ohio hot. Here's where I'm like differing, because both of these teams have very proven systems out of the back three. Both of them have been, I guess, shunted a bit by injury. Because while you mentioned Nagby, I'm going Rudy Camacho, because Sean Zawatsky has spent the majority of this year as a center back. I don't think that's very good, like long-term health-wise. It's certainly done a number on their defense, which has actually regressed more than their attacking production. Because the problem with Columbus's attacking production is Daniel Gazdag not scoring his first open play goal until this past weekend. So I feel like he's scored now. They gotta start coming. They really gotta start coming. The advanced metrics, aka goals added, really hated Abu Ali's cameo in this game. I think he just needs a little bit of time, because if you remember, Cucho Hernandez was a summer signing. He was. The problem with Abu Ali is that this deal was announced probably like a month ago. It took him forever to get his visa cleared. And now he's really only in for the stretch run this year. So, like the Timbers additions, he's going to be a playoff guy. He's going to be someone who's going to be expected to contribute more in the playoffs than he is for the remainder of this regular season. I think Columbus are going to be able to stay above the wild card game, but the sicko in me is rooting for that Greg Berhalter derby in that wild card match. So, I mean, either way, I win. And I'm happy about that.
Yeah, one team that would benefit there as well as New York City. I brought them up a little bit. Fernandez now. Still, I think, kind of slowly getting into it still, but I can't help but feel he will take this team into what it needs to be. A very strong win. Another team that got a similar 1-0 win, Charlotte. So, I mean, there is a secret to beating Cincinnati. Any thoughts on New York City, Jeremy? As kind of, we do have to begrudgingly admit the stadium boost that they have, but I really like Alonso Martinez in transition. There's something about him and winning the ball back. Among the best pressing forwards, I think. But what did you make of it, of New York City in playoff race?
I think their floor has been significantly raised, and their ceiling has been significantly raised by Nicolas Fernandez, whatever. I'm not going to try and pronounce that last name. And it isn't even like specific like tactical reasons. I think he's just a good player. And when you add good players to good teams, and I think although NYCFC for most of this year has just been like rather middling, like you can still see there's like a lot of quality there. Getting Aiden O'Neill finally up to the level to where he can be a significant difference maker in that midfield. And he was excellent in this game. That really helps. And then you do have a match winner in goal and Matt Freese. It's also worth noting that this NYCFC team was the same one that knocked out Cincinnati from the playoffs last year in pretty funny fashion on penalty shootouts. So I feel like NYCFC could go farther than most people think in the playoffs. But at the same time, I'm more just like, yeah, like, fine, NYCFC, final season at Yankee Stadium, blah, 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 blah. Like, they're NYCFC. They're a playoff team every year. The question is like, how sustainable is their playoff success? It looks rather sustainable right now. But because there's such a difference in the top echelon of the East, at least in terms of the standings, and there is in like this, I guess, like tier that begins with NYCFC because I'm not ready to knock Columbus down there yet. The question is, which matchup will they get in the first round and how favorable that is? Because if it is favorable, could be good.
I don't think any of these matchups are favorable for any team. I think they're all coin flips.
Yeah. But NYCFC, at least getting to a coin flip is good for them. They're the most coin flippable team in the East. I don't think the Red Bulls are very coin flippable. The Fire obviously have a problem with good teams. So I think just them being, I guess, somewhere in the coin flip tier for playoffs, not in terms of the standings, that's good for them.
Daniel, you're going to have to make that new tier. Coin flip.
Got it. Already written down.
What Eastern Conference team are you looking at? I know you got Charlotte in mind. Miami got that 1-1 draw on the road against DC, but Charlotte also doing without a one Mr. Pep Biel, 7th game in a row. Where do you want to go?
I mean, we can touch on Miami real quick because they're a much faster topic. Then we can slide over to Charlotte and get everyone's thoughts, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, I mean, they just rotated on this one. Saved by a Baltazar banger. What a crazy name.
Absolute screamer, dude. It was absolute screamer. Part of me, when I saw the back reserves, was like, is that, like, when they said Baltazar Rodriguez, I was like, did rumors and fans from this past transfer window, when they thought they were getting Brian Rodriguez, just get, like, confused? But, yeah, I mean, they just heavily rotated, and they got a point away because of it. So there's not a whole lot to say outside of it is the most packed I think I've ever seen Audi Field, and that was kind of neat to see. All to see Rodrigo de Paul play 30 minutes.
And Luis Suarez.
And Busquets. It's kind of cool that they can rotate and just put those kind of guys in. To Charlotte, man, I mean, this was actually a really fun game because this was kind of the lineup that if I were to picture like us going into the playoffs tomorrow, this would be kind of that best 11 based off of how Kerwin Vargas has played this season.
No Lil
And
Labada.
you would like, I mean, it's a coin flip with who you put in there, but I'd say over this last like 5 to 6 game stretch, Kerwin Vargas has kind of shown through as the better player when you look at their whole season performance to me. I think you have a lot of options with your wingbacks if you're Charlotte right now that it's okay to rotate between Byrne, Tofolo, what's his Marshall Ruddy. What?
Jaquil Marshall Ruddy.
Yeah. So there's a ton of options in that back line right now. And it's really nice to see Tokla Madi making plays himself in positions that normally Pep Biel would, I feel like. So like he's dropping back, he's making the right passes in transition. So because of that, I mean, just really happy with this Charlotte performance.
And that's even with Jibril Diani, and I for sure thought the Red Bulls were going to make them. If you can't
when you look at their
Jibril
attack,
Diani, you're not a playoff team. Sorry.
Yeah. If you look at their attack, you look at their back four, you're like, okay, that's kind of what you picture. This midfield is a mess right now, and they're still beating teams that are trying to make a push themselves. So, I mean, kind of hard to be mad about the performance as a whole.
Anyone else got some Charlotte thoughts? Because I'm quite high on them. It's 7 games in a row, and what, four of them without Biel. Like, and we were kind of. I think that kind of should disqualify him from the MVP race. For the fact that they have been fine without him. Maybe that puts more on Coach Dino, but beyond that, we also have Philly at the top of the East. Cincinnati right behind them in a big Shield race. Any other Eastern Conference teams before we get into the Shield race, fellas? Perfect. Let's talk about the Shield because it feels like with Nashville winning, Minnesota winning, they're kind of making a claim to the throne here. Vancouver's got a game in hand, so I can't I can't say they're not. I mean, a win in there up to 52 points for the season, but Shield just kind of opened up with definitely that Cincinnati loss at home. That was a big blow to their Shield hopes. But what are you guys feeling here? Still kind of between Philly and San Diego for y'all? Is it just, or can we see a sneak surprise from any of the other teams?
Miami still has 3 games in hand.
Boo.
I'm saying they're still mathematically possible. They're not going to win it, but they're still in the race.
All right.
And if they win all 3 of those games in hand, that'd be a total of 9 points. They would currently have the Shield lead. So you can't really ignore the fact that they're in this. But at the same time, I'm going to stick my neck out and say this is still Cincinnati's Shield to lose, which is nuts. Because you if you look at this is really funny. I have the top 9 in Supporters Shield. Their goal differentials up in front of me right now. I see a plus 22, a plus 19, a plus 7, a plus 17, a plus 16, a plus 16, another plus 7, a plus 14, and a plus 14. Do you know who the 2 plus 7s are? It is Cincinnati and Charlotte. This is this Cincinnati season should not be going like this. It really shouldn't be. They shouldn't be this good.
What happens when, look at the bottom, man. You got DC, Atlanta, Montreal, Toronto. As long as you got these teams feeding you points, you're going to be in a good spot. And they've also gone and done some good wins too. They're kind of gifted Columbus. But beyond that, I think, didn't they beat Miami, or was that Orlando? Orlando definitely, of all of these teams, it's kind of tough that they're out of the Shield race, because I definitely do think they're more of that team, of just that top team. Like Philly, I don't know, just because I'm burned from thinking they'd be the worst team in the East, but it's also insane that they are doing it with Francis Westfield and Oluwathu Makanya as their highlight pieces to replace I guess Nathan Harriel, but he's in and out of the lineup. But Jack Elliott was on this team. Oluwathu Makanya steps in just fine, and kind of rough. They also didn't need Ian Glavinovich, was on SCI earlier, so I really thought at that point their depth was just gonna fall out from under them, and it hasn't. And they are the one team I think can win the Shield and then immediately get bounced. That Shield curse.
Like Carnell. That's why.
It's gonna run out of steam, but it hasn't. That's why I'm like, gonna go on and do the rest of it. But I've yet to see that shoe drop. Does it? Do you guys think Philly can do it?
Would it be crazy to say that I think the Shield winner, if it's going to be an East team, is going to be determined by who wins this weekend between Philly and Cincinnati? If Philly beats Cincinnati this weekend, I think Philadelphia now has that's a 6-point game. That's a huge swing.
Draw, and also it's back to where we can see this team drawing.
Yeah, I can see a really ugly draw. Also, while we're on the topic of Philly, at the end of the season, I want someone to put together a Damiani miss compilation.
Your song, right? Damiani.
Yeah, and it's just him missing sitter after sitter and putting his head in his hands.
We're gonna have to record that song. I hope you're set up for some vocals over there in Portland, Jeremy.
Maybe. But yeah, that's the crazy thing about this Philly team is that they could actually have they could score more goals. It's just that Damiani is kind of snake bitten in front of net. He has one chance in this Chicago game, 2 minutes in, puts a header over the bar. pretty good header too, and pretty good chance for the header. And yeah, I don't know. Like are they going to run out of gas? Undoubtedly, but they just need to keep this gas going until the end of the season. And then when they inevitably get bounced in the playoffs, everyone's going to say, Ernst, you dumbass, why did you wait so long to SEI Glavinovic when you could have done that like way earlier? Because like it's a meniscus. It's a meniscus. Everyone knows it's a meniscus. Everyone knows that's.
Wait, he wasn't on SEI?
He wasn't on SEI until like the final days of the transfer window, Juanners.
What? I thought it was.
They didn't officially do that. Yes.
Damn.
So you could have opened up a
was...
U22 spot. It's nuts. It's like, Ernst, what the hell were you doing? Like, sure, bring in Olowski. That's objectively a good move, but like, you could have done more. You really could have done more during the summer window, which is why I think they collapsed in the playoffs. But like, they'll be fine for the rest of the regular season because Bradley Carnell is an elite regular season coach.
Josh, any any teams in this Shield race that you think were kind of snubbing here, like cases to be?
Not that we're snubbing, but I mean, I think that San Diego will be the team to win the Shield. And
really?
Should that be the case, where do you guys rank it in terms of expansion team success? I mean, it's got to be number one.
You're such
right.
A hater.
It's got to be. It's got to be number one, right? Okay. I mean, coming first in the West. I mean, I guess it's been done once, but that team didn't win the Shield. And I think that adds something to it. As much as like the Shield is kind of a fake trophy. It's kind of a fake trophy. It's still a massive success. And aside, again, non-biased penalty viewers speaking out again, San Diego, I think, are the best team in the league right now. I do think that. I think that they have. Best, I get that. I know, and I get that they've fallen off. I mean, not just like with the draw against Portland, but since selling Olowski, I think they're like expected. Their XG per game has dropped by nearly a goal. Does that say that all of the production was coming from Olowski?
Well, I kind of want to say that he could have been just on a crazy heater of a hot streak, because I think eventually they would have probably hit a dry spell, because it's not, that kind of production is just not sustainable from what he was doing. As evident, it took him a while to get going for Philly, but it's crazy how Olowski went from one Shield contender to another, and he is definitely like worth that. He is definitely the better of pickers here. I do agree. I think San Jose are the best team. They are just so much fun to watch too. I think if I were to rewind, one of the most telling moments was I was in St. Louis watching these games, watching the opening games, Sunday Night Soccer, and we go back to San Diego's first game against LA Galaxy. We were all, it was kind of like a league shocking, like, whoa, like, can you see how good, like, San Diego just, like, belt to ass the Galaxy? And that's what it was. Because that was, like, when you knew, oh, yeah, this is going to be a fun team. Beyond that, though, they've been the best team. Like, sure, Philly, go ahead and punch down on Chicago Fire, right? Like, sure, like, whatever. San Diego, it's like, fuck. I don't know, fellas. I don't know. They continue to impress. Any final field thoughts? We're gonna get a Charlotte mention from Daniel.
No Charlotte mentions. The only thing I keep thinking, and I've thought about this multiple times during this podcast, for some reason I keep thinking about the conversation we had last week about Nashville and them purposely taking points to keep everyone healthy. And I just keep praying that they do it because that would help Charlotte so freaking much, because I have a bet with Hayden, the RSL fan, and they are 3 points off of third, and he owes me a kit if they get there. So that's all I'm focused on. We're not focused on Shield. We're focused on third. Get me third.
He wants that jersey. Now, I do have a quick update, by the way, because the Leagues Cup semifinals are still going on right now. I'm not watching this. I'm following along. Miami has been the beneficiary of what seems to be a dodgy penalty call, which has resulted in a second yellow card for David Brecalo and a Lionel Messi penalty kick equalizer, and it is now 1-1 between Miami and Orlando.
What, a dubious penalty for Miami?
This is fine.
I'm
this is
blown
fine
away.
because if they're in the final,
I am shocked.
If they're in the final, they're gonna prioritize League Cup, lose the final, lose Eds in the red and the end of the regular season, and everything that we said about them imploding will happen. Right? They're not just gonna win all the trophies, are they?
But who would they lose that final to? The Galaxy? Oh.
Guys, I fucking love that they put Leagues Cup. They've integrated it in with the schedules because it just makes the MLS season so much better when you think about teams like Miami having to rotate an extra week. It's so good.
This is good stuff. This is the elite content. Elite content.
With that being said, let's go ahead and up pod. Daniel, where can they find?
They can find me on X, the Everything app, at Vox Pro MLS. You'll see me on there as Major League Shill.
Jeremy.
You can find me on the Elon app at Sports Guy Jeremy. You can find me on Bluesky at jeremypeterman.bsky.social. You can read my work at Cascadia-fc.ghost.io, where during this upcoming international break, I am currently working on a monster deep dive onto whether or not the Timbers are actually good and what they need to do to become great.
Are good. Joss, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Josh Bathtub. You can also find me reading this Timbers deep dive because I'm interested. From Jeremy. And you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at Off to See the Wizards. We got a full video coming out detailing our journey to the Northwest, Odyssey style. So if you're a fan of Greek mythology, check us out. I am wearing a toga.
Can't confirm.
I'm all here for it, especially officially MLS recognized.
Yes, officially been retweeted by the Major League Soccer.
So I think you've just gone a little bit too big for the big leagues.
Don Garber's been blowing me up all day, bro. I'm like, get a life, dude. I've got outside the box to record. Let's fucking move on. Talk to my guys, okay? So this is my priority. Whatever Don Garber wants, that'll come second.
All I'm saying is, if you can send me those All-Star tickets next week, I know you're.
Yeah,
cool
I'll see what I
Don.
can do. Yeah, I'll see what I can do on.
You can find me at juanners.bsky.social. Follow Box State at Box State Footy on Twitter, on Bluesky, boxstatefooty.com. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. All the links are there at boxstate.com. This has been Outside the Box, an MLS podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see ya when we see ya. Bye-bye.